Can everybody hear? Can you all hear? And see, if there's loads of space down here if anybody can't hear or see. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for coming here in such big numbers. We're delighted to have you here. We're delighted to have Michael Coghlan from Nissan Ireland down to do this presentation for us. Any questions you have, you can hold them to the finish. I believe he's so good at this, there's no questions at the end of these presentations. So we hope you enjoyed. We hope all your questions are answered. It is the future, I suppose, whether we like it or not. I suppose the electric is the way we're going to be going. We have done a Q&A leaflet for each of you. So if you miss something, it's all in the booklet. You'll all have one leaving here. So be sure not to leave without it. And listen, enjoy the presentation. And thank you for coming out in big numbers.
Okay, as Trish said, you're all very welcome along this evening. I'd like to say a big thanks to Trish and to PJ for organising this this event. I go to a lot of these events in garages around the country, and I think the biggest attendance so far has been 17 people, so really to come in here this evening is fantastic. We're here to talk about the Nissan Leaf, obviously, and just give you an insight into the Leaf, into electric cars, and hopefully show you how it would work for yourself, for your business, and most importantly, how the car can save on your pocket. I suppose the best way to start off is give you a little bit of history about Nissan and electric cars. A lot of people know that when we mention electric cars, the Leaf is synonymous with electric vehicles, the Leaf name. But Nissan have actually been building electric cars for 71 years now. So they started building cars in 1947, so we have a good history behind us. And we had 300,000 of these Leaf on the road over the last 8 years. And it was using the data from the 300,000 cars that we had on the road that we were able to build our new Nissan Leaf 2.0. This car was launched this year. There was 80,000 of the old cars sold around Europe over the last 8 years, and we already have orders for over 45,000 of this car. The car has a customer satisfaction of 94%. I've tried hard to find out what the 6% didn't like about it, but I haven't figured that bit out yet. 94% satisfaction rate, highest rate for any car, but also for any product. Most products are down around 70-80%, including the likes of Coca-Cola and that. So really what happens with the Leaf when a customer comes in is we pre-qualify them and we make sure the car is for them. If the car isn't for you, Nissan will not sell you a Leaf. First question everybody asks when they walk into a showroom, and I suppose if I was to ask everybody that comes through the door here, the Leaf, the first thing they'll say to me is, what's the range? And what we do is, I would always ask the person, well, what do you need the car to do for you? What do you need a Nissan Leaf to do for you, an electric car? So rather than giving you a number, because if I give you a number, you'll tell me what it can't do. We work out, most people, if they do 50 kilometres a day, 60, 70 kilometres a day, what I say to them is, you're probably going to be charging at home while you sleep or while you rest once a week, maybe twice a week. The range on the car is 270 kilometres WLTP. Now that varies. Some people, will get 230, 240, 270. We've taxi drivers in Dublin at the moment who are driving the Leaf and getting 300 kilometres in the city. And it is all down to driving style and how you drive the car. The car is incredibly quick. In fact, I would go as far as to say, if I look around the showroom today, 90% of the people in this showroom, well, with the exception of PJ, probably haven't driven a car as quick as this car. They're a fantastic car to drive, and hopefully some of you will get to test drive it later on and see. Charging the car. First thing, another question people have, it's one of the top 5 questions. How do I charge it? Where do I charge it? How does the car charge? So you've got 2 charging ports on the front of the car here. We've got a fast charging port and a standard charging port. Standard charging port is for your home charger or for on-street charging. The fast charging port over here on the right is for the rapid chargers that are based strategically along the motorways around the country. Now for myself coming down here today, I can take it easy on the motorway. I can drive at 90, 95, 98 kilometres an hour and get here in a single charge. I didn't have that sort of patience today. I was in a hurry down, so I did have to stop on the way down. But I stopped for 30 minutes. The car's at 30%. 30 minutes later, it's up at 80, 90% fully charged. On a home charge, to plug in, the car charges at 6.6 kilowatts. It's got a 40 kilowatt battery. So we divide 6.6 into 40 and we get roughly about 6 hours if the battery was empty. So when we get the real convenience of the electric car is you charge it while you sleep or while you rest. So when we go home in the evening, we plug it in. If we're on a night rate electricity, we can set it that it only comes on when the night rate comes on. And on a night rate electricity, if I had to put 75% power into that at 9 cents, you're looking at roughly around 200 or €2.70. And that's for 270 kilometres. And the car is ready for you when you get up the next morning to go. Now, the majority of people, the original Leaf, which had a range of 120, 130 kilometres, which was really a city car, but it was sufficient for 90% of people's journeys. And this car is sufficient for most people's daily journeys. So when you look at the Leaf, you look at it and you say, it will work. It will work for you day to day. The once or twice or 3 trips a year that you may have to make to the country, you will have to stop and charge. Safety. Another big question. It's electric. It's, you know, how safe are they? The Nissan Leaf, there's a new NCAP rating in Europe. The Nissan Leaf was and it's a very stringent one, let me tell you. And the Nissan Leaf was the first electric car and one of the first cars to get tested. And it excelled in every test they done. Every single test that was done on the car. And it got a stellar 5-star rating. The car was crashed front on, rear on, side on. And even after all the crash tests that were done, the battery wasn't damaged in one of the tests that they done. Now, like most cars, it has airbags. And if you are involved, you're unfortunate enough to be involved in an accident, when the airbags are deployed, it cuts the battery completely. And the battery is in the chassis of the car. So the car can never go live. The battery is isolated completely once you've been involved in an accident. There's a sheet here, as Trish mentioned, she's got the frequently asked questions booklet, but on the back of it, and there's too many to go through which are here this evening, all the safety features from the Leaf. I'll run through maybe a couple of them with you. Standard, right across the range, the car comes with forward emergency braking, intelligent forward emergency braking. To give you an idea of how that works, if you're out on a motorway or out on a road and you're driving along and you get distracted in any way whatsoever, the car will give you a warning. If you don't react immediately, the car will actually brake and come to a halt for you. And it'll actually stop to help prevent an accident or to limit the damage done. It's also got what's called rear cross traffic alert. So in the back here in the panels, there's radars in the back here, and this is on the base model as well, remember. So if you're reversing out of a parking spot, you're in a supermarket, you're reversing out. As you reverse out, if there is ongoing traffic, the car will actually warn you as well. As I said to you there, the battery in the car, it's in a protective case, and as you can see here, I'll just show you, it has its own chassis around the battery to protect the battery in case of an accident. And like I say, the car has been tested so vigorously, the battery has never been damaged in a test. Connectivity plays a big part now going forward with cars. This car comes with Apple CarPlay, Android Autoplay, and there's also a Nissan EV Connect app, which connects, because connectivity, as I say, is a big part of motoring going forward. But the car is actually connected to your smartphone. And one of my favourite features on this is the scheduled AC start. So what I can do is, every morning when I get up, in summer I can cool my car, and in winter, if I get up tomorrow morning and I look out the window and there's frost on the car, I can literally turn my phone on, defrost my car, set the temperature inside it, turn on my heated seat, back and front, and turn on my heated steering wheel. Walk out to the car 10 minutes later, get in, power it up, and off I go. The car has a dashboard which will show you the charge of your car. It'll allow you to start your charge if it's on a night rate and you want to start it early. It'll allow you to stop it. It will also give you all the stats of how much every journey has cost. So every time you get into the car, you set your electricity rate. It will tell you exactly how much the journey you've done has cost you. It'll also give you tips on how to improve your driving. The car has regenerative braking, so that when you're slowing up, it'll tell you should use B mode more, you shouldn't be braking as much. It'll give you a lot of tips to help increase your efficiency when you're driving. It also has a car finder on it. So if you park your car somewhere, and the accuracy to this is literally within meters, but literally if I park my car in a car parker, in some cases, we had a case where a car was taken recently, and it was parked at the side of a house in a garage, and the owner in Palmerstown was able to tell the police exactly the number of the house, the road it was on. They got there, and the car wasn't there. And she said, well, I'm telling you, it's at the side of that house. And I said, well, there's a garage on the side of the house. She said, well, that's where the car is. And when they went in, that's where the car was. What's it like to drive? The car drives, it has no gearbox, it has no clutch, it's an electric motor that just spins. So it drives more or less like an automatic car. So you just select D to drive forward and R for reverse. It does have a couple of different modes. It's got B mode, which is a brake regenerative mode. So when you select drive, if you select brake regenerative mode, what it does is, as you slow up, it will slow the car up for you without using the brakes. It harvests that power and it puts it back into the battery. So you're actually recharging the battery. Eco mode, that limits the output you can take out of the battery. So it's then range on the car. If you select Eco mode, when you drive, as I say, it's a very, very fast accelerating car, but using Eco mode, it decreases the acceleration in the car. It limits the power you're taking out of the battery and just extend your range by about maybe 10%. E-pedal, which has just won the Innovation Award for 2019. Single pedal driving system. Sounds very, very daunting. And anybody that you mention it to says, I don't know whether I'd like that, I don't know whether I would use that. It's probably the most popular feature on the car for taxi drivers. People who drive in the city, they absolutely love it. It's just using your accelerator pedal to accelerate and to brake. You don't use your brake at all. Now it's not set by default in the car. You must select, pull the switch to select it, and once it's selected, once you turn the car off, it's turned off as well. But what it does is, when you accelerate, you learn how to feather the throttle. As you accelerate off, the car accelerates. As you let your foot off, it actually decelerates. And most people think the car won't stop, it won't come to a halt. And what we found is, and you'll see this if you test drive the car, most people actually let their foot off too soon, and the car will actually come to a halt before they get to the corner or before they get to the car in front of them. It'll hold the car on a hill, on any incline, up or down. There's no need to use the brake then, and then as you pull off, it'll accelerate off again. And it also eliminates the brake lights at the back. So just to let the driver behind know that you're actually slowing down, you're not using the brakes, the brake lights are actually illuminated as well. Nissan Intelligent Driving, I suppose a lot of the features that got the car the 5-star rating. The first is Pro Pilot. And I actually use that coming down here today. So when I'm on the motorway, what Pro Pilot does is I will set a predetermined speed, say 120 kilometers an hour. I'm on the motorway, I'm driving down. I must at all times keep my hands on the steering wheel, but the car will steer for me. It will accelerate for me. It will brake for me. It will come to a halt for me. It will move off again. It will keep the distance to the car in front. So if the car in front of me starts to slow down, my car will slow down as well. As it accelerates up, my car will accelerate forward as well. If the car moves out of the way, my car will accelerate up to the preset speed that I've had it at. Pro Pilot Park. I have a video on this that I'll see if it will work now in a minute for you, that I made. I didn't know it was actually being made at the time. It was out in another Nissan dealership. But Pro Pilot Park is a one button park system. And it's actually the first of its type in the world. And somebody actually questioned me on this recently and said to me, I thought Tesla had a one button park system. And they're right, they do. But their park system works off radar only. So it can only park when there's other cars around. The Nissan Leaf has a radar at the front. It's got sonars. And it's also got a camera in the windscreen here as well. So the car will park between predetermined white lines as well, even if there is no other cars around. So all you need to do is you press the button. It will select a parking spot for you. If that's the parking spot you want, the only thing you've got to do is tell the car whether you want to reverse, forward or parallel park, and it will do the rest for you. You just literally press the button, take your feet off the pedals, your hands off the steering wheel, and the car will park perfectly for you. Yeah, we'll just see. I'll see if I can. Okay, so let's take a look now at the running costs of a Leaf. This is based on 50,000 kilometres a year, but for somebody who does 20,000 kilometres a year, let's say you were charging on a night rate electricity and you weren't using any public infrastructure at all to charge, which most people use 50-60% of the time. To run a Leaf for 20,000 kilometres, charging on a night rate of electricity will cost you roughly around €260 a year for 20,000 kilometres. A 1.3 petrol will cost you about 2,200, and a 1.5 diesel roughly around €1,400. So there's a big saving on fuel. Maintenance costs as well are minimal on a Nissan Leaf. We'll open the bonnet later on if anybody has any questions, but the simplicity of the car is there's an electric motor drives the front wheels and there's a battery that powers it. And in the middle you have a dimmer switch, and the dimmer switch is your electricity, or your accelerator. The more you turn it up, the more power you use and the faster the car will go. You turn it down, you use less power. It's like a light, it'll go down as well. So on its first service after 30,000 kilometres, there's a state of health battery check done. They check all the fluid levels, they check your tyres, brakes, and they change the pollen filter for your air filter. Now these cars, and we have examples of this, we've cars out there with 200 and 300,000 kilometres on them that are on their first set of brake pads. Some people have just replaced the front brake pads on the car because of the regenerative braking. Maintenance is minimal on these. There's no oil, no filters, no timing belts, no timing chains, no DPF, no ERG valve, no gearbox, no clutch, nothing. All you have is a motor, an inverter and a PDM, and that's it. Incentives for the Leaf, for purchasing them. The car alone sells itself when you look at the technology that's in it, but there's some fantastic incentives there from the SEAI now to purchase the car. There's a €5,000 SEAI grant which is taken at source. So when you come into the dealership here, if you come in and see PJ or any of the staff, you don't have to apply like most grants for that and then reclaim it back. That grant is taken off the car straight away. There's also a €5,000 VRT relief on it. And there's a grant now towards your home charging kit. A home charging kit costs roughly €800, €1,000, and there's a €600 grant towards that at the moment. So the grant for the home charging is, you've got to apply for that yourself. So when you purchase the car, you apply for the grant. Once you get the okay for the grant, you go ahead, get it installed, and then they will refund you the €600 once the charger has been installed. There's also a toll incentive on the car at the moment it's half price tolls on all the toll roads, 75% off the M50 at off-peak times, and 50% off the tunnel in Dublin on the €3 charge. Now, there's a max savings of €500 allowed. It's capped at €500. But when you think about it, somebody who's using a toll every day, 48 weeks of the year, will use the max. Well, you will on the M50 anyway, at €270, €290 a pop. With max savings of €500. That €500 is most people's insurance taken care of every year. Warranty on the car. The battery. What's the lifespan of the battery? For peace of mind, there's an 8-year warranty on the Nissan Leaf battery, or 160,000 kilometres. All the EV components have a 5-year warranty. The car has a 12-year rust warranty, and it has a anti-corrosion warranty, and it has a 3-year European manufacturer's warranty with roadside assist. What happens if the battery does run out? The battery will always, the car will always update you, and the telematics will tell you how much range you have, how far you can go, but it will also tell you where all the charge points are. So it will advise when you're running out of power where the nearest charge point is. They're all up on it there, and there's 1,200 charge points throughout the country that are on the telematics of the car. Driving, as I said earlier, it really is, it's a phenomenal car to drive, it really is. The car has a 110 kilowatt motor, and that's equal to about 150 brake horsepower in a normal petrol or diesel car that you guys would be used to driving. The big difference is, in a petrol or diesel car nowadays, there's a turbo on the car. and you do get a little bit of turbo lag. So as you pull off, there is a bit of a lag before you actually get going. In a Leaf, because it's electric, it's like a switch. Hit the switch and off the car goes. The car does 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 kilometers, 0 to 60 miles per hour in less than 8 seconds. It's 7.9 is official. It has been bench tested and done it in 7.2. So it is a very, very quick car. I'm just going to briefly touch on this, what the future is for EVs, for electric vehicles. This Nissan Leaf is not only a car. Most people will look at it and think, you know, it's a car, but it's an electric car. It's actually a storage device. The car will store 40 kilowatts of power, and it has vehicle-to-grid and vehicle-to-home technology built in. And what that actually means is, and we have pods set up to test this and to showcase it. You can charge your Leaf up fully. You can go into work, and if you have your office set up or your home set up, you can plug the car in and you can power your home or your office for a couple of days. If you have solar PV on your roof, you can take power from that, put it through an inverter into a battery on your wall that you've stored, and put the power back into the car, which means you can literally go off grid if you want. We have a couple of pods set up, offices, where people come in the morning, they plug the car in, it powers their office for a couple of days, the solar PV on the roof and the battery will put power back into the car, and then you drive off home with a fully charged car. And what's coming next is vehicle-to-vehicle technology, and it's where I'll be driving down the road, I have a fully charged car, I pull up and somebody's out of power, I'll be able to plug in, I'll be able to give them a kilometre for every minute that I'm plugged in. So if they're 10 kilometres from home, I can plug in, give them 10 kilometres in 10 minutes, and off they go. That's the presentation. Most people now, the information you need is done in the Q&A, so if there is any questions that you have about anything I've talked about, or if there's something that I haven't covered and you have a question on it, I'd be happy to take them now.
You mentioned VRT relief.
Yes.
What's that about?
What about?
What's that about? What's
Well,
VRT relief?
all cars, all vehicles have VRT.
Yeah.
There's no VRT on the Leaf. It's VRT exempt.
Okay.
And then the grant is on top of that again, the €5,000 grant.
Okay.
Excuse me, is that record? I'm getting it, I had it before.
It is indeed, yes. It is indeed.
Thank you very much.
It is, absolutely. And you have it ordered. Have you driven it yet?
I have.
What did you think of the drive?
Absolutely fabulous.
Absolutely, yeah. Fantastic car to drive.
Absolutely.
Right. Insurance, what's the cost of insurance on that?
Okay, well, look, that's something you would have to, I would always recommend that people phone their insurance company, get a reg of a car and ask them how much it will cost to insure. Generally, Zurich Insurance were one of the best to go to for insurance for electric vehicles, because they were generally around 20% cheaper to insure the car. And it wasn't that the car, you know, was dull and it wasn't powerful, because there is no compromise driving them. It was just that electric car drivers are deemed to be safer drivers, because instead of watching the speed, they're watching their range. So they tend to keep their speed where it should be to watch the range and extend the range of the car.
Is your range greatly reduced if you have a full load of passengers? Say you're going on holiday, your
Yeah,
front
very,
is full
very,
and everything
very
else?
same as any other car. If there's weight in the car, or that it does compromise the range. The range is 270 kilometres WLTP, which I do achieve regularly with myself and a passenger in the car. If you put another 2 passengers in the back and you're taking a bit of luggage or that, you will compromise your range. But the car will show you inside what range you have as you're driving, and it updates all the time. And there is only 2 things that draw power from the 40 kilowatt battery, and that's the motor that drives the car and your aircon. And if you turn your aircon on with a full charge, you're likely to lose somewhere between 10 and 12 kilometres, that's it. But the car will advise you of that. If you turn on your wipers, your lights, your telematics, your dash, your heated seat, your heated steering wheel, doesn't affect the range at all, because that takes its charge from the 12 volt battery.
Can you tell us about tax relief?
Pardon?
Can you tell us about tax relief?
Tax.
Tax relief against income tax?
Yes, so against income tax, the car, it's got, if you're buying a car through the business, it's got €3,800 grant instead of a €5,000 grant. But it has 0 BIK. So for someone like myself that would maybe drive a Qashqai as a company car, and I switch over to a Leaf, from that day on, straight away I see a saving of €370 a month, which is over 4,000 a year. It's nearly 13,000 over 3 years, which is my son's college fees paid for 4 years. There's the accelerated capital allowance, which allows a company to write off up to €24,000 in the first year against your operating profits. Now, normally that would take 8 years with a normal C-segment car. You would write it off at 12.5% over 8 years. With the Leaf, you can write it off in year 1. Anybody else? Or
Sorry, you said about there was taxi drivers driving up in Dublin.
yes.
Yeah. The windows are tinted in the back. Did that make a difference?
Okay, so for taxi drivers, yes, they've got to get the back windows. What we do is we can order it in the factory without the privacy glass in the back. Or if there's a model they want and it's in stock, we can just replace the 2 windows on the side. Because the back window and the 2 smaller windows don't need to be replaced at all.
Just the doors.
Just the door, just the windows that go up and down. And then a taxi driver receives the grant for a taxi driver is €3,800 from the SEAI. They then receive a further €7,000 from the NTA. So they get a total of 10,800 off. And they also, even though they're self-employed and no businesses or no sole traders can claim the €600 grant for a charge point, a taxi driver can.
Road tax is cheaper.
Road tax is €120 a year.
How long is the battery lasting, years-wise, on average at this?
Again, down to how many kilometres you would do. But when you think maintenance on it is minimal, there's a guaranteed 8-year warranty, 160,000 kilometres against 25% degradation, which means if the battery is degraded by 25%, within those 8 years or 160,000 kilometres, it'll be replaced. And the batteries have a second life. The Johan Cruyff Stadium in Amsterdam is actually powered by 141 Nissan Leaf batteries. So they do have a second life.
Does the range decrease as time goes on?
Like anything that uses a battery, it does indeed. So if there is degradation on the battery, you will lose some range.
Was there mention of 1 kilometre range, 400 kilometre?
There is, yeah, there is. There's one due next year. It's a 60 kilowatt, and it is due. It's got 370, 380, maybe 400 kilometre range. It will be a more expensive car because you're adding an extra 20 kilowatts of power into the car.
And they're going to use hydrogen as well, aren't they?
No, Nissan have no plan for the future for hydrogen. It's too,
Yeah.
no, not yet anyway. Well, not that they've told us. I don't know whether everybody heard as well, just something I because it's not in the slide, but Marguerite Serres, who took over in the ESB, made an announcement the other day, and they've allocated 77 million towards sustainable energy with an extra 260 million from private funding to come in. But 10 million of that has been allocated straight away to the public infrastructure for fast charging in Ireland. So we're going to have we've got 50 rapid chargers at the moment, and we will have an extra 100 rapid chargers being installed from next year onwards, 150 kilowatt chargers. So we like at the moment with the 1,200 chargers we have in place, we do have a very good infrastructure in Ireland, and we will have one of the best in Europe from next year onwards. And like I said earlier, the real convenience for me personally, and most people I know, is charging while I sleep or charging while I rest at home, because the car is fully charged then when you come out. And as the range does expand, especially in a country like Ireland, we become less reliant on public infrastructure to charge.
The Tesla public plug-in points, are they compatible with Nissan?
Tesla can pull up to our Shadow Mall and they can charge their cars there, and they often do. They've come up with this adapter, but the software that Tesla have won't allow us to charge on theirs. So what they've actually done, in fairness to them, anywhere they've put in a charge point, they put in 2, and both will charge the Tesla, but the red one will charge Tesla only, the white one will actually charge a Nissan.
Sorry, that's the destination chargers.
Yes.
The ones in Port Hill, Ballaconna and Castlebelma are Tesla only, software limited.
That's right.
Now,
Okay.
Tesla have said that they're open to opening that network up to anyone who wants to, but
Yeah.
they'll obviously have to pay for it, which is fair enough.
Well, we'll all be charging for we'll all be charged for public infrastructure from next year onwards. I mean, the plan with ESB is, in order to maintain the network, is to start charging from March of next year for the public infrastructure. And anybody, and I mean anybody who drives an EV will welcome this, because what we found is most people, the first 2,000 people to buy an electric vehicle got a free home charger. The majority of those people still go out at night, will park at the local car park, the local supermarket, the local station, wherever there's a fast charge point, and they'll charge their car up to 85% and then go home because it's free. So what that does in effect is, someone like myself who travels a lot, I pull up to a charge point, there's somebody sitting there, and for the sake of €3 at home, they're sitting hogging that point for 40 minutes, which means I can't get to it. So when they start charging, that will do away with these people, because nobody's going to sit there for 40 minutes and pay a fiver when they can go home and charge the car maybe for €3 at
Excuse me,
home.
there's another little thing. I applied for a day and night meter, so they're fitting it within the next 2 weeks.
Great.
Because-
So you'll be, did they give you a rate of what your night rate will be?
10 cents.
10 cent, okay. So 10 cent, it would cost you, let's say you get home on a Friday evening, you've 25% in the car and you need to put 75% in, that's 30 kilowatts. It'll cost you €3 then to fill the car up.
I thought, in case anybody wants to know about the day and night meter.
Yes,
from
that's great.
Electric Ireland, it's free.
Oh, it's free. So there you go. Electric Ireland are doing the day-night meter now free, because there was previously a charge from ESB and others. So that's good to hear. Thank you. Any other questions or? The real convenience of the electric car is that you go home, you plug in, you plug it in, you go to bed, you get up the next morning, the car is full.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the real advantage of it. It's the best way to charge, and it's also, when charging comes in, it will be the cheapest way to charge as well. Well, the battery has what's called a battery management system, and what that does is, when you get to a fast charge point, the car will charge at 44 kilowatts up to 85%, and then it slows it right down to protect the battery. Because the real enemy to a battery is heat, and there's only two ways to generate heat, and that's by driving the car or by charging it. So the battery management system takes control of all that. But you're actually right, the best way to charge it is at home. It charges at 6.6 kilowatts, which never heats the battery up.
And it is okay to charge the car at home when the battery is hot. Say I've driven from Dublin,
It'll never, if you drive from Dublin to Galway to Limerick to Cork to Kerry, the battery will never ever on a single drive be hot enough to slow the charge down. It's only if you drive, charge, on the third charge, it will start to slow it down. But if you get home to your house after a long drive, it will charge at the very same rate as it would if the car had been sitting there all day. And the other thing is, the battery doesn't lose charge. If you charge the car up to 80% and you drive off somewhere, drive down to Shannon Airport, park the car up 50% in the battery, and you fly off, if you're lucky enough, for 6 weeks to Florida or somewhere, when you come back, the car will have 50% still in it.
If you had an accident in the car and it turned over and you got trapped inside, how you fixed with the battery?
Like you said, it's got a stellar 5-star safety rating. It's been tested in every situation possible. And just like a normal car, if it turns over, if you've turned the car over, you're in trouble. But there's no difference in getting out of this car as there is. As a matter of fact, you'd probably be safer in this, because there's no chance. There's less chance of this going on fire. There's no fuel.
With the battery, would say.
But the battery's encased in its own chassis, which it's never been damaged in any of the tests that they've done. And it cannot come, it's in its own chassis, built into the chassis of the car, so that when it turns over, you're in no danger whatsoever. And the car, the battery is then isolated, so that even if the emergency services come along and they have to cut, they know it's an electric vehicle, they'll never cut into the battery. So wherever else they cut around the car is completely isolated.
You wouldn't deliver the drive as well, would you?
Well, no, but you've a better chance. So if we take a petrol and diesel car up here, and you can look at this on YouTube, there's some great videos on YouTube, and we put a Nissan Leaf there, and we've that height of water, we'd say. The Leaf will get through it. The petrol or diesel car may not, but the Leaf will get through it.
You haven't mentioned one thing,
Sorry.
one advantage
Yeah.
as an electric car driver myself is preheating in the morning. Or maybe you mentioned before I got in. But
We spoke about it before you got in, yeah.
the other thing is we have a Facebook group for County Clare and for electric vehicle owners. And it's quite useful in terms of people asking questions if they're in an electric car already,
Okay.
from the point of view of if chargers are out of service. And
Yes, yeah.
quite frequently, there is some chargers are unreliable, so you get to know them as well along the road,
Well, and what I'd say to you on that is, Marguerite Sayers has just literally taken over as director in ESB for e-cars. Dennis O'Leary was allocated money last year to put chargers in place, and he didn't use it for that, but he used it to try and maintain the chargers that are in place. And the plan now is to upgrade all the chargers that are out there at the moment. I know we've been listening to this for 8 years, but this funding has been put in place now, and unlike previous years where it was we've applied for funding, we're getting funding, there is an actual plan in place now to put the chargers in and to maintain, and that's the reason that there is going to be
it's still a small, it is still a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have to plan your journeys, no matter where you're going.
But you absolutely.
Your journeys, if you're doing a long journey.
If you're doing a long journey,
Like a diesel car or an engine or a petrol car, you plan your
but I
journey.
mean, if you've
You have to
1,200
plan.
kilometres in your diesel car, you probably don't have to plan.
yeah, but you see, you're talking about 1,200 kilometres. If somebody came in to me, if I was selling cars, and they said to me, I want to buy a Nissan Leaf, I think it's fantastic, and I said to them, well, tell me what your typical day is going to be like. If they're going to go off and they want to do 500-600 kilometres a day, I wouldn't care how much money they had in their pocket, I wouldn't sell them a Leaf. That's why we have our 94% satisfaction rate. We will not sell the car to someone that it doesn't suit.
Well, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong to them. I'm after hopping from diesel to electric, and I'll never go back.
Yeah, like
the
myself.
driving is different,
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, or? Oh, sorry, tow bar. No, the car is capable of towing. It is very powerful. Nissan do not supply a tow bar for the car. There is people throughout Europe that have tow bars on them, and I've seen the videos, and they've towed small caravans and they've towed trailers around. But what it will do is it will void your warranty. So if there's a problem with your battery and you take the car into a dealer and there's evidence that a tow bar has been fitted, it will void the warranty for your battery, because they haven't been approved yet. Now, as batteries get bigger and ranges get longer, I'm sure that you will be able to fit them to cars coming in the future. But to any of the electric cars at the moment, you can't fit a tow bar. Okay, so I'll answer that in two ways. The original Nissan Leaf had a 24 kilowatt battery, and it cost €1,000 per kilowatt hour to build that battery. So the battery was actually nearly more expensive than the car. The current battery that's in the car costs roughly around €150 per kilowatt hour. So you're looking at between €6,000 and €8,000 for the battery. But as time goes on, batteries will get smaller, they will get cheaper again. So again, this car has seen its lifespan out in another 10, 15 years. I don't know, probably a couple of grand at that stage. And it'll be a case of, it takes 40 minutes to drop the battery out, 20 minutes to get the new one in place, and another 40 minutes to stick it back in.
So you can't put a tow bar on that car?
Pardon?
You can't put a tow bar on that car?
You can't, no.
Oh, you can't?
Oh, you can put one on, but it voids your battery warranty.
Yeah, this mileage.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, if that's everything, so
I'll just let you know, I have the 20-page question Q&A. Everything you want to know is in it. So if you missed anything, please pick them up on the way out, okay? Okay, and thank you very much.
thanks. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.